Oh hey, come on in. Watch your step though, we're still cleaning up the place. Now, if you don't mind, I have a passage I'd like to read. All around me are familiar faces. This episode looks breathtaking through and through. Animation, blocking, lighting, colors, framing, camera movement. It's all top-tier stuff. There's so many little details to absorb that going through it all again for this video has been one of the biggest treats of the entire volume. When Roman starts moving around, the canvas texture of the painting and the shadowing on his body move with him. When Ruby and Neo respectively feel empty inside, the eyes are drawn without shiny highlights. Not to mention the reflections in the eyes, which is just so cool. The use of spotlights at the beginning of the chapter was really neat, and what made me enjoy it even more was my uncertainty as to whether or not it's actually happening in universe. Stylistic, to be sure, but also completely in character for this place. And the butterfly makes another appearance. I was just beginning to doubt myself as to whether or not it had any significance in chapter 3. It's still not clear to me who or what it is. Might be the cat in disguise. I'm keen to learn more. Torchwick looks fantastic in the Maya engine, and his appearance was a pleasant surprise. Or rather, it would have been if they used the correct thumbnail. Thank you, Crunchyroll. They have since fixed it, but the heart rarely forgets. Billy Kometz was an excellent choice for Roman, and he absolutely stole the spotlight for me. I'm just so happy I got to hear him in another role. Rest in peace, my guy. You absolutely nailed the character. Pyrrha got an updated model as well, and it also looks terrific. Neo using the deceased as puppets to speak through is a wonderfully sadistic idea. Welcome to Chapter 8, by the way. This episode is vicious. And every time I thought I'd seen the most of it, they take it even further. Ozpin clubbing Ruby in the back of the skull with a metal cane while she's got no aura to stop her from feeling it might go down as one of the hardest things to watch in the show's history. It's not even particularly graphic, but the sound design team did a spectacular job making this moment especially crunchy. I'm not surprised in the slightest that this chapter is TVMA. Yes, you heard me correctly. Ruby got a TVMA, and it's not even the first time it's happened. I don't know where IMDb gets these certificates, and I don't want to know. That would make it considerably less funny. This animation of Pyrrha beating up Ruby has absolutely no business looking this satisfying. It honestly reminded me of her choreography during Volume 2. On the subject of fight scenes, Neo versus Little. Pretty cool, although a bit short. Sorry guys, we're going keyboard only from now on. The mouse is gone. A real disappointing step in the narrative. Rodent? More like dent in the road. This episode is so mean. Oh yeah, and they pick on Oscar again. Why? What did he ever do to deserve this? The kid can't catch a break even when he's not in the season. I gotta say, I had a feeling that Ruby was gonna seek out the tree at some point, but I did not expect it to happen this immediately. I'm fairly certain they're gonna recover her safely over the next 2 chapters. At least, I hope they do. Ruby's more interesting now than she's ever been, and for once, I don't want to see her go. If they have Ruby's friends chase after her and successfully pull her out of the tree, that would make for some mighty powerful messaging about friends as a lifeline. The story hasn't finished yet, so I'll wait until then to comment on it. I don't get the sense that he deliberately wants to deceive people or that he's inherently evil. Well, this is awkward. Yes, I was absolutely dead wrong about the cat, but I'm not even the slightest bit mad. This was a genuine subversion of my expectations, even though in retrospect, all the signs were there. I always read the cat as unable to empathize with human emotions and simply not sharing our moral compass. And by having him appear slightly sketchy, it counterintuitively made me trust him more. Curious is just so much fun, and Robbie Daymond gives it his all. Actually, everyone in this chapter does, including Jen Brown, because my god, was she ever intimidating. The animation and sound design of the cat diving into Neo is desperately uncomfortable. I dig it. That being said, I'm not the biggest fan of the voice modulation they're doing for possessed Neo. Layering a pitch-shifted voice on top of the regular one just kind of feels cheap in the world of sound design. But to Volume 9's credit, the voice is still plenty clear, and unlike Hazel, did not remind me of Black Ops. Alright, I apologize for bringing it up, but neither Ruby nor Neo should have had any knowledge of Clover's death. I'm fairly certain his appearance is strictly for the audience's benefit, but it did pull me out of the episode a bit when I started thinking about it. I also found it a little bit troubling that no nobody made an attempt to stop Ruby from drinking the tea. It would have made a lot of sense for Yang especially to charge in, because the first thing she saw was her sister bruised and beaten with Neo towering over her. You could still have Ruby succeed in drinking, despite Yang trying to stop her. If anything, that would strengthen its impact. I've heard a few people make the argument that they're in shock and thus could do nothing but watch. Essentially the same thing I heard back in Volume 8 when the Hound attacks Oscar. You can choose to interpret it however you like, but for me personally, it just felt like a bit of a contrivance. Chances are high that it's just an instance of script not translating to screen. I can imagine these four rocking up at the scene and Ruby drinking were intended to be one instantaneous moment, but in the final edit, they still needed to deliver Torchwick's line of dialogue, and that stretched the moment out a little bit. A lot about the believability of moments like this come down to the edit, because back in Volume 8, I and many others found it rather difficult to accept that nobody would try to save Yang when she fell, especially when a couple of them can fly. But the beginning of Volume 9 actually remedies the issue a bit by showing the same moments at a wildly different speed and from a different perspective. I find these events much more believable in real time than in slow motion. It may be the shortest one yet, but Chapter 8 goes harder than a battering ram on a semi-truck, and I couldn't be happier about it. Far and beyond the most visceral reaction this show has ever gotten out of me. I was expecting many things going into Chapter 8. Body horror was not one of them. I now understand the significance of having much of the first act be lighthearted in tone, because it's all in service of contrast. The episode wouldn't have had nearly as strong an impact as a third act to a volume as dreary as 8 was, so the tone of early Volume 9 really works to strengthen it. This episode isn't just good because of its top-tier production and entertainment value. It's good because it made me retroactively appreciate the early chapters more. There's still technically 2 chapters left to potentially ruin everything, but I simply can't see that happening at this stage. Volume 9's felt far more planned out and deliberate than any season prior, and I've been having a tremendous amount of fun riding the roller coaster. And I usually hate roller coasters.
They give me neck pain.
That's the end of the video. Catch you later.